The Honda Grom, perhaps the single most well-known Japanese motorcycle right after the Yamaha Ninja Gixxer. Even normies recognize the Grom because it's just one of those vehicles, kind of like an early model Hummer H2 that falls somewhere between grotesquely ugly but fun when used in the correct way. The correct way for a Grom to be used, of course, is just do the exact opposite of what the owner's manual says. Please allow the engines a few minutes to reach the operating temperature before using the full throttle really means just bury the needle and crack a massive wheelie out of your driveway, then jump the bike off a skateboard ramp made out of an upturned garbage can and a 2x4. The crazy thing about a Grom is that while they might spell death for just about any other motorcycle, you can absolutely thrash a Grom and it will just keep putt-putting away. But of course the real question is, should you own one? Well, my young squidlet, today we're going to answer that very question in perhaps a little more detail than your average Grom owner would, but hey, you clicked on the video. That's right, we're going to break down the history of the Grom, tackle some well-known issues, and compare and contrast it to other mini bikes just because we can. I'll be shepherding you through this journey, lighting your path into the kingdom of Rossi. You can call me Sweaty Tood, Clammy Dude, Yammie Noob. But before we get started here today, ball shavers! Seriously, when was the last time you groomed yourself, my dude? I know we've all been stuck inside and too lazy to clean up around the house, but at least you gotta keep yourself looking good. I mean, after all this time, it probably looks like you've got Hagrid in a leg lock down there, and ain't no one gonna wanna see that. Do yourself a favor and get trimmed up with the Lawnmower 3.0 from Manscaped, which will have your sack smoother than Rossi passing someone on the outside. It's packing some space-age tech in this little package, ceramic blades tough enough for any job, but gentle enough not to nick or cut your balls. Made it to a high RPM engine that'll have you setting PRs each time you use it. Get yourself the perfect package 3.0 today, and by clicking the link down below and use the code Yammie for 20% off your order and free shipping. And just in case you were wondering, I do practice what I preach and I'm not just making this stuff up. Note, I can't actually show myself using this product because, well, that'd be insane. Thanks to Manscaped for sponsoring our shenanigans. Now go show them some love. Now look, you can't talk about small displacement mini bikes without going back to the king of motorcycles, the #1 most popular motorcycle the world over, the Honda Cub. Like it or not, to talk about the Grom, we've got to jump into the world of scooters. Back in 1958, as a response to the rough and tumble rebel image that Harley Davidson was creating for all motorcyclists, Honda saw an opportunity to get moms and kids, basically anyone who didn't want to be associated with the bad boy biker image on two wheels. Turns out there was a lot of people in that crowd. They launched the Super Cub and advertised it with drawings of diverse groups of people riding it all around with smiles saying you meet the nicest people on a Honda. And boy oh boy did it work. They moved a metric crap ton of these bikes around the world. At the time it featured a little 50cc single that was just enough to push the little scoot up a hill, but eventually they made some bigger models going all the way up to 125cc's. But to complement the Honda Cub, took its 49cc single cylinder engine and slapped it into the Z50M in 1967. This was the little mini bike that basically kicked off the whole idea. It was mainly for kids and an off-road toy, but it was a fully street legal bike that actually saw road duty in Japan. They followed it up with another bike a few years later which received a significant leap forward because it had suspension. Apparently your frame cracking when you go over bumps is not a good thing. It went on like this for years, with the Z line of mini bikes being dubbed the Monkey until it was officially killed off in 1988 when the last ZB50 rolled out of the factory. It was basically a baby naked sport bike. I mean, look at it. Who wouldn't want to drag knee around a go-kart in that thing? But Yammie, I don't care about the Monkey or the Super Cub. I'm here to listen to you tell me about how good my Grom is because I need you to validate my opinions. Well then, it's probably going to annoy you when I say that the Grom came out in 2014 and it used a lot of the same parts in the engine from that faithful little Scoot and the old Monkeys. And why wouldn't they? Honda has pretty much perfected the art of scooter engines at this point, so they weren't going to reinvent the wheel just to placate American riders who are too preoccupied with displacement. So what you got was a 124.9cc single-cylinder air-cooled engine made in Thailand, but featured a 4-speed gearbox, so you could still feel like a street Rossi banging through the gears while feeling the unrelenting 9.7 horsepower and 8 foot-pounds of torque. Not only did you get a blistering low end, but it was capable of reaching truly ludicrous speeds of 56 miles per hour, thanks to its industry-leading 224 pounds wet and ready to ride. As a side note, it's literally impossible not to talk about the Grom without delving into shit hosting, and that's part of the reason that we love it. We all know exactly what it is, and Honda doesn't try to sell it as some sort of earth-shattering technological marvel or anything. They know you're going to keep the throttle wide open 100% of the time, take it off-road, and do any number of dumb and stupid things to it. I mean, why else would someone make a turbo so they can squeeze a whole 16 horsepower out of the bike? I mean, the impeller on that turbo has to be the diameter of a bottle cap, but someone still did it, because how else are you going to do all those sick 5 to 55 mile per hour pulls in a parking lot? But anyways, when the Grom came out, basically everyone loved it, and those that didn't very obviously didn't have a sense of humor. I mean, for a cool $2,999, you could be on two wheels, hopping curbs and popping nooners with your buddies, and that is an amazing deal. Not to mention the fact that maintenance is literally dirt cheap. It uses just a quart of oil, has an itty-bitty chain that lasts forever, and it's not like you're gonna smoke your tires anytime soon. Hell, it gets a claimed 134 miles per gallon, which is pretty good considering it only carries 1.4 gallons of gas, but hey, that's almost 200 miles, and it runs on 87. They cranked out Groms by the bucket load, and in 2017 they gave it a cosmetic update and new exhaust routing, but I mean, who leaves the stock pipes on a Grom? Beyond some new bodywork through the engine, the chassis, the controls were all about the same. There were a few different bikes based on the Grom platform. However, in India you can buy the Grom Navi, which is basically a Grom with an automatic transmission. It sells as a scooter since it doesn't have a clutch or any of the fun stuff you'd associate with riding a bike, but it does have a trunk in the area where the engine normally sits. They also re-released the Monkey in 2019 based on the Grom, which was in turn based on the Monkey, so there's some weird Inception stuff going on there. It's like a nesting doll full of monkeys and Groms, which is a classically styled mini bike with a lot of chrome and glossy red paint, but for all the same low stakes fun of the Grom. Basically, it was a cash grab for boomers, and by God, it worked. So with damn near 50 years of design and updates and tweaks, did Honda get it 100% right? Can you own any Grom out there and not worry about spontaneous engine death because not only is it a Honda, but it's a 125cc air-cooled engine? Sadly, no. In 2016, Honda released a recall on American Groms for a problem with their fuel pump. Wait, seriously, a Grom has a fuel pump? Why? Whatever. What was happening was the fuel pump inlet would collapse in on itself, restricting fuel flow, or in some more severe cases, cutting it off completely. Thankfully, the bike would die before anything bad happened, so if you got the recall notice, you just had to take your bike back to the dealership to get it fixed. And because Honda was so nice, they gave Grom owners an entire new fuel pump, which makes sense. I mean, it's probably smaller than an aquarium pump. There was also one other recall issue in the 2014 and 15 model years, which had to do with the emissions sticker on the swing arm, which is kind of a comical reason to have to take your bike back to the dealership. I can see it now. You walk into the dealership and hand them your recall notice. The tech slaps the new sticker on the swing arm, then bills Honda for the full $125 an hour rate. But other than that, Groms are pretty stoutly built little bikes. Does that mean they're good bikes? Well, that's the tough question to answer. If you saw recently on the channel, we posted a first ride impressions on one of the Groms we're giving away for free over on YammieNoob.co as part of the beginner bike giveaway series. Click that link below to get signed up, which goes more into detail than I can here, but to summarize, the Grom is a fun bike because you can basically do anything with it as long as you don't ask it to go very fast. It can poodle around town no problem, 12-inch wheels make for a shockingly quick turn-in, and the brakes work. But the suspension looks like something from a bicycle you had as a child, the transmission is the worst on any motorcycle I've ever ridden, and there's basically no clutch feel, it can't do freeway speeds, and no matter what gear you're in, if you shift up, you automatically slow down for a good 15 seconds while the engine builds up RPMs again. When you compare the Grom to a normal motorcycle, it's absolutely garbage. But unlike with cruisers, it's actually not fair to judge the Grom by normal bike standards. It's a mini bike. It's all about goofing off and dragging me in a parking lot. So if the Groms really is low stakes fun that's easy to pick up if you drop it and not powerful enough to get yourself into trouble with, then it should be a really good beginner bike, right? And my answer to that one is no, it's actually kind of a bad beginner bike. I want to make a whole video about why the Grom is a bad beginner bike, but as a teaser, it teaches you really bad habits because you need to be wide open throttle 100% of the time. It doesn't teach you anything about throttle control, and that translates to very poorly on more powerful motorcycles. So if you started on a Grom and think you're ready to hop onto something like an MT10, I'd probably say you should get something like a Ninja 400 or an R3 first. Okay, Yam, so you're saying the Grom is a crappy beginner bike and a bad motorcycle in general. So why is it so popular? Why did Motorcycle USA call it Motorcycle of the Year in 2014 if it sucks so bad? Well, because it's fun. There's no two ways around it. For $3,399 brand spanking new, you can buy yourself a bike that will put a smile on your face. It's basically a toy. You can take it off jumps, stretch it, turbo it, scrambler it, turn it into an ADV bike like we did, put a big bore kit on it, Panigale swap it, for God's sake. The aftermarket is gigantic. If you can dream it up, someone's probably already done it to a Grom. Whether you get one of the old school 2014 Groms, the second gen 2017 Plus, or even a Monkey, you're getting something you can have a blast with. It's why you see Grom squads cracking massive wheelies all over the place, because if you're trying to learn how to wheelie, dumping a Grom is going to suck a whole lot less than dumping your shiny 600. Also, if you can wheelie a Grom, props to you, because both Spite and I tried for like 45 minutes and we couldn't get it up. That's not to say I can't wheelie. Here's that picture of me wheeling the desert sled again, because my ego is very fragile. Please look at it and validate me. My only advice to you is, if you want to own a Grom, is this. Number one, have another bike that can actually go fast and do normal motorcycle stuff, because you're going to need to go on the highway. And number two, find some friends to goof around with, because it's way more fun to be Grom squad with others. Number three, do it right and don't get a Z125. That's a fake. Get a Grom. Then jump the bike off a skateboard ramp made out of upturned garage. Then jump the bike off a skateboard ramp made out of upturned garbage can for a 2x4. Then jump the bike off a skateboard ramp made out of an upturned... Then jump the bike off a skateboard ramp made out of an upturned garage... Motherfucker. Then jump the bike off a skateboard ramp made of an up... It's a struggle today. Then jump the bike off a skateboard ramp made out of an upturned garage. Oh my God. Hey, thanks for watching the video. Why don't you click this one right over here and you can keep watching some more of your sweet Papa Yam. Maybe this one will have fun memes in it. Maybe it'll be interesting. Maybe I crash a motorcycle. Who can say? Maybe you should click and find out.